Hi, Julie. It's so good to have you back.
Hi, Kathryn. So good to be with you.
Today, we're going to talk about noticing progress, and this applies to many areas of recovery. And it's something that we feel is important as you make change to notice what's going right. So, Julie, will you just go ahead and introduce this?
Yeah, as we're coaching, something that comes up over and over again, and I know I was guilty of it myself, is that um, clients will often come and want to tell me all about what's not working over and over again. Oh, I'm doing okay, but yesterday I ate this much, or I was binge free for a week, but today I binged. And instead of focusing on, I was binge free for a week, the focus is on, but today I binged, or but today I ate extra food, or but today this, or the yeah, but. And so what what I really want people to start to do more and more and more is notice progress. Focus on what is going right. Notice it, savor it, celebrate it, track it, take it in. Really look at all the ways that things are improving because there are always improvements, even when you think that there aren't.
Yeah, and even beyond recovery, right? I heard you say on the group call when you were teaching a lesson on noticing progress that we're always improving through our entire life,
Yes,
and it's important to notice what's going well and we build from there. Something I said in the Brain Over Binge Recovery Guide was that you want to build on your own success. Success is your best teacher. And we always think,
mm,
about learning from failure. And yes, we can always learn from failure as well and see what went wrong and how we can improve. But if we focus on where we're successful and really see what we're doing right, then it becomes easier to repeat that.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you see your success and you celebrate your success, you want to do more of that thing, right? We get what we repeat over and over again. And I'm always telling everyone, you want to bathe your brain in what you want for yourself, not what you don't want for yourself. So if you fixate on the one the one thing that didn't go well, that's what you're going to get over and over again. And so it's really important. You've got to be really careful to the inputs that you're putting into your brain. So yes, noticing those successes, tracking those successes, sorry, it's hard to say, but very important to do, very important to do because, I start every coaching call with celebrations and wins because what we celebrate, we integrate. BJ Fogg calls it shine in tiny habits. It's that neural superglue. It's the way we reinforce what we want. And whatever we focus on is going to grow. So, everybody, it's your choice. Do you want to focus on what's not working and get more of that, or focus on what is working and get more of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it never means that you ignore the things that are not going well, right? Because we want to make change, we want to make improvements. It doesn't mean you just sort of bury your head in the sand and say, oh, I'm just going to ignore that. No, you can acknowledge it, make the changes you need to make, but continue to focus on what you're doing well. And that really can speed along the brain changes because, like you say, what you focus on, it grows in the brain. Where we put our attention really fuels those pathways and helps them become stronger.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. And it's very important to be careful because I am quite sure that anybody listening to this is going, yeah, but I can hear the yeah, buts. I can hear them. They're so loud. Can you hear them?
Yes.
Like I hear them bouncing off the walls because what do you mean celebrate and focus on what's going right? I'm not binge free yet. Or I still eat emotionally, or I'm not the size or the shape or the weight that I should be, right? Or I am not this, or I am not that, whatever it is, I can hear it. The yeah buts are so loud. And that is what all brains do. So it is very important to take in what we're talking about here, noticing progress, celebrating without condition, really focusing on what you want, and then expecting and allowing urges, to make a condition to say, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that yet.
Yeah.
That's too, like that's not humble. There are all kinds of sneaky ways that the brain is going to try to stop you from doing that. And all the more reason to be onto your brain in advance.
Yeah. And it's so natural. And I think just understanding that this is a universal human tendency for us all to focus on the negative. We've talked about the negativity bias of the brain on the podcast before.
Yep.
And when you
Yep.
notice your brain doing it, you don't have to get upset with yourself. You can just say, oh, there goes my brain again, focusing on what I'm doing wrong. And I'm going to
Mhm.
consciously redirect to what is going well.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm sure that many of our listeners are familiar with tracking things, right? Because in the diet world, there are all kinds of apps to track calories and step counts and this and that. And I want to, reclaim tracking in a way that actually is healing and works for recovery. And so I would like to encourage everyone to track things that actually matter, right? So if you're going to pay attention to things, start tracking your progress, right? Have you been binging less? Track that. Have you been overeating or emotionally eating less? Great, track that. Have you been eating adequately more regularly? Track that. Have you been allowing more urges? Track that. Have you been spending more time in recovery activities, maybe listening to these podcasts? Or if you're in the group, are you on the forum? Or if you're in some other kind of program, are you really engaging in that? Track the amount of time you're spending engaging in recovery practices, right? Track your sleep, track your energy, your mood, your digestion, track things that really matter towards healing.
Yeah, it's such a great idea. For people who are in the Brain Over Binge course, there is an urges dismissed tracker, and it's tracking the urges that you successfully dismiss and learning from each time you do it successfully so you can keep going. But as Julie is saying, that's not the only thing you can track. You can track so many other areas where you're improving the way you're eating in a way that's nourishing, where you're improving the way you talk to yourself, where you're improving your relationship to your body, where you're improving the amount of time you're spending focusing on making these changes. So yeah, there's so
That's
many
right.
different ways and everyone
That's
can
right.
personalize it, to make it work for them.
Yeah, exactly. Personalizing it. That's the other piece of this that is so important. I always talk about the fact that we all need to find our own formulas for eating, right? Our own formula for adequate eating. But it's also true that we need our own formula for recovery and for what we want to notice. What are the things? So, everybody listening, start challenging yourself. What do I want to start paying attention to that has nothing to do with my size or shape or weight? What ways do I want to notice progress? Maybe it's speaking kindly to myself. I heard you mention that. What a great thing to start noticing progress in. Are you able to be more kind? Are you able to be more present with other people? Are you feeling more like you're in your integrity? Are you noticing that you're keeping your promises to yourself more often? What kinds of things do you want to track? What do you want to notice?
Yeah.
And, you mentioned that urge chart that you have. And what I also want to say is that for people who are in the Brain Over Binge group, I offer this completely modifiable tracker where people actually take the unique things that they're interested in noticing improvement in, and they modify it for themselves, and it charts it for them, and it creates lovely graphs, and it's another way to notice progress, right? So it's just a very important thing to start bathing your brain in that.
Yeah, Julie, I really love the personalization that you bring in that tracker that you created for the group. It was really an amazing tool. And as you said in the group, you don't have to do it. You don't have to force yourself into tracking all these things. It's what you want to track, what you believe is going to move you forward, what you want for your life.
Yeah.
And something that's related here, I posted on Instagram. It was a quote, and I actually don't remember right now who said it, but it was something like, don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. So
Mm,
I want to relate that
so
here
relevant.
because there may be places that you may not feel like you're meeting the goals, or you may not feel like you're moving in the direction that you want to go in certain areas, but you can still focus on the areas that you are. You can still really solidify those changes that you're making, and then that can expand. I guess the message I really want to get across here is don't say, oh, I'm not doing well in this category, so everything is lost. Like one
Right.
category of tracking doesn't dictate, your whole life or your whole recovery, right? You can still focus on other areas and you can still keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of this is you get to choose also what it is that you want to focus on. And that can shift and change. But for sure, if there's one area where you feel like I still have some room to grow, great. great, just an opportunity for growth. Doesn't mean anything is failing. It just means, oh, this is an area where I'm ready to grow. I'm doing well here. I need to shore it up here. Or this is an area where I'd like to pay more attention. That's all it means. And I've said this before, but it's really important to give your brain good questions to focus on, right? Because we're always hearing things like, why can't I get this? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my brain? Everyone else can do it, but I can't. And so I think it's really important to start changing the questions that you ask of yourself. What is going right? What is going well? How am I already healing? What worked today? What things did I try that went well? What do I want to focus on going forward? Those kinds of questions, your brain will start looking for answers to those questions.
Yeah. Yet another question you could ask yourself and track is, how is not binging benefiting me? And I know we talk about that a lot on the podcast. You can track the way you feel. You can track the money you're saving by not binging. I mean, as we know, right now, food is very expensive, and the amount of money you save by not binging is very reinforcing, right? And there's so many things. Yeah, like your sleep gets better, your digestion gets better, your health gets better when you don't binge. And if you can see this like in real time as you track it, it's so much more motivating to keep going.
Absolutely. In fact, I tell all of my clients every night in their journals to write, because I didn't binge today, I get these non-weight benefits immediately, and to write them down and to try to name at least 5 every day. And what happens is that becomes what you crave. You start craving the better mood, the better sleep, the more money, the more focus, the more productivity. I mean, the other things that open up, creativity at work, new ideas, new ways of generating revenue. So many things become available to you with each day that you're binge free. And those are the things to pay attention to, noticing that progress.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Something I do want to mention is that we don't want you to feel overwhelmed here, like, oh my gosh, I have to start tracking anything and everything in my life right now. I like to really simplify things for people. And I think the most important 2 things to track to get started would be the 2 recovery goals of this approach, the dismissing urges and the eating adequately. And really look at, the urges that you are successful dismissing, and look at the meals that you are successfully nourishing yourself, and really focus on those 2, and then start incorporating other things as you see fit. I always tell people, okay, what can you do that can help you toward these 2 goals? So let's say, to help you toward the goal of eating adequately, it could be to develop a more peaceful relationship with your body. So you could start tracking the way you talk to yourself, or you could start tracking, the amount of times you get on the scale, and try to reduce that so you're not overly focused on your weight. And that helps the goal of eating adequately. For dismissing urges, you can track the thoughts that you noticed, maybe the thoughts that you realized were not logical and not true. And what I'm talking about is the thoughts that encourage binging. If you can recognize those, track the thoughts that you recognize. So basically, think of it in terms of the 2 recovery goals, and then what things help you toward those 2 goals. And that can, I hope, provide a framework to what you could track.
Absolutely. And, I always encourage people to, and I'm shaking a glass jar with beads in it for people who aren't watching on YouTube, but, every time you eat an adequate meal, drop a bead in a jar. Every time you dismiss an urge, drop a bead in a jar, and the beads, they just keep building. You never take them out. And so you see that build over time. And that's a very easy way to keep track of every time you allow an urge, every time you eat an adequate meal, and it just keeps building. And then you're seeing your recovery progress right before your eyes.
Yeah, that's great. And it's an example of the fact that it doesn't have to be like boring tracking. Not that any of this is boring, but you don't have to just write it down or make a graph. You can put beads in a jar. You can do something fun to track it for yourself.
Yes, I've had clients who've made jewelry. I've had clients who've made beautiful sticker charts or paintings that they added a little leaf to each time. There are all kinds of ways to get creative with this. But the idea is to really focus on, what do you think is the most important thing for you right now to help you towards recovery? Whatever that is, whatever that is. However, I will say, what that is not going to be your size and shape.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the motivator, because as we both know, when you make that the focus, you're going to lose your recovery. It's just the way it goes, because this is about healing, truly, truly healing.
Yeah, and I think that's something everyone is going to need to be aware of because, like you mentioned up front, a lot of people are very familiar with tracking their weight, with tracking their food intake in a very dieting type way, try to eat under a certain number of calories and really track the calories in that way. And ways, like you said, are very counterproductive to recovery. So you may have urges to start tracking in that unhelpful way, right? And you're going to have to dismiss the urges to track in an unhelpful way, right? So that could be something else you can track, right?
That's
I
right.
dismiss the urges to track my weight. So
Right,
yeah, I like that you brought
right,
that up.
right.
Yeah, Julie, I know you mentioned the progress tracking tool that you created for the group, which is amazing. What else do you do in the group to help people really see their progress and track their progress?
Yeah, great question. Well, we start every call noticing wins, celebrating wins. Everything counts, right? Like there's nothing too small to celebrate. So, doing that in community with each other. Also, on our forum, there is a celebration thread where people go and share their wins, and everybody jumps in and cheers each other on and gets inspired by each other. So, there's that aspect of it. And of course, everybody gets this access to this customizable tracker where they can decide what it is that they want to focus on. And then as I'm doing coaching, I'm always redirecting people because I'm not in their brain. I'm outside of their brain and I can see what's going on, and I can help them see the language that they're using, the patterning of their thoughts, and help shift it towards what is working. What is it that you want for yourself? How can we build on that? So it's that constant redirect. I mean, that's the power of coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who is interested in that, I know, Julie, you have a free call coming up at the end of this month that if you'd like to tell
Yes.
people about that.
Yes. So Saturday the 29th at 2 p.m., I'm doing my free bi-monthly call where anybody can come. You're all welcome. And, it's kind of modeled after the weekly coaching calls that I do. So you'll get a flavor of what I do on those calls. You can come, get coached, get support. It's a great way to head into summer.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
encourage everyone to come.
For sure. And there's a Zoom link in the show description that you can use on Saturday, the 29th at 2 p.m. Just click on that Zoom link in the show description and you'll be connected to Julie and get to hear that amazing free call. And as we
Awesome.
talk about tracking things, a lot of times in the beginning, the first, month, the first several weeks are the time that's really the most crucial to change these pathways, to start building
Yes.
new habits, to really not follow down those well-worn pathways. So you're bringing out a new coaching package that is going to help people through this first month. And it's really a high level of personalized coaching. And I'd like you to just share with the listeners what that is going to entail.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this, Kathryn. I'm calling it the 30-day binge-free reset. And it just came to me that these first 30 days are really foundational for brain change in recovery because research shows, I mean, Anna Lemke goes into it in great detail in Dopamine Nation, but research shows that it takes about 30 days for our dopamine pathways to reset and heal. And also during that time, that's when urges can feel the most intense. That's when we go through things called extinction bursts. And so it is often in that time that there's a lot of starting and stopping and starting and stopping, and people can find themselves very discouraged. I don't understand. I read Brain Over Binge. It was all so clear to me, and I was doing great. And then I had this massive urge, and I couldn't handle it, and I fell. I fell down. Like I didn't do it. I didn't make it. And then I got discouraged, and then it kept going. And so what I thought was in the beginning, in those first 30 days, how great it would be to have somebody by your side guiding you through, knowing everything that's happening in your brain, what's going on, walking you through that as you're experiencing it in real time. And so the idea is it's for one client per month. And it will be 30 days of daily coaching. And so what that means is that whoever is interested would get 30 days of a 15-minute phone call with me, checking in, going through an urge if you're going through one in the moment, as well as a text that day. And so each day of those 30 days, you will be guided and supported through the process, getting you really to the other side. Not completely, obviously. There'll still be much work to be done, but really step by step through that month.
Yeah, and I know that you'll also be tracking the person's progress, whoever signs up
Yes.
and does this
Yep.
30-day reset with you, that you'll give them that tool to track their
Yes.
progress in the areas that
Yep.
matter to them.
And they
Yeah,
get to do it along with me. So, we'll both be tracking, right? It's very much going to be a paired interaction.
yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And if you want to learn more about that, there'll be a link in the show description to our one-on-one coaching page, which is the place where you sign up just for the single sessions. But you'll see on that page information about this 30-day reset, and you can get more information there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so thank you, Julie, for having this amazing conversation surrounding tracking progress. I hope it's helped all of you see, the areas that you are being successful, and I hope it will help you build on that until you're completely free of this.
Yes, exactly. I hope everyone right now, as you're listening, think about something that's going well, what's working, and really just notice that right now.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you, Kathryn.